Hi, fourth grade. This is Mrs. Kite, and I'm just going to go over a few things that we needed to do for math for days 3 and 4 in Packet 5. I'm sorry this is coming to you a little bit late. It's been kind of a crazy week here. All right, so let's look at day 3. So for day 3, we are supposed to be doing the meteorologist for a day. Now, in order to do this, you have to have the temperature recording chart that you started back in packet number 4. You started on day 1 of packet 4, and you had a lot of data to include in it. I think there were 14 days that you had to include for your data. So in order for us to make a line graph on a slide, if you're doing it digitally through Google Classroom, I'm going to show you. If you're doing it in the packet, of course, you'll want to draw your graph. Using the daily temperatures you collected from the last packet, create a line graph. You may do this by inserting a chart and choosing line graph, using the table tool, or by drawing it on a separate piece of paper and taking a picture to insert to the right. Make sure that you include a title and labels for both sides. That means both of your axes. So pretend you are a meteorologist, and we're going to use the data from our line graph to share weather patterns we've noticed. Also, you are going to predict what will happen in the next 3 days. So you're going to predict the temperature. So the easiest way to make a line graph digitally is I'm going to insert a table. Now this can get a little tricky sometimes, but I know that I have 14 days worth of data. So I'm going to need at least 14 different temperatures. And I'm going to go ahead and just do 10, because I can always add more later, and I think 10 is a good number as far as the amount that it varies. So we're going to do that. All right. Now I have got to resize this, and I'm going to move it over because I want to have enough room to work. All right, so that's what it looks like with 10, and I'm going to make it even a little bit smaller because I think I might want to include see if it'll let me. Sometimes it'll let me and sometimes it won't. Sometimes it just moves down. Alright, so that's about as small as I can get it. But if I do this over here. Alright. So I've inserted a table. So now what I need to do after I've inserted the table is I've got to label my X and Y axis. So in order to do that, I'm going to move this kind of out of the way by making it smaller. And I'm going to do that with it. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a text box. So I'm going to insert a text box over here to the side because this is my Y axis. And I need to also insert a text box on my X axis. So I'm going to do that over here. Alright, so now that I've done that, over here, this is where my dates are going to be. And I want my text to be a little smaller so I can make sure it lines up. So I've made my text a little smaller. I'm going to put date down here. And then over here, I'm also going to make that a little smaller. And this is my temperature. Alright, so I have date and I have temperature. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to start with the date that they'd already done for us, and that's April 20th. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to make sure that my April 20th lines up with my first line. So the first line's right here. So I'm going to back that up a little bit. And I'm going to put 4/20 in there. And then the next date, of course, is going to be April 21st. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put it in there, just like that. So for temperature, I've only got 10 here. So I want to start at, let's see, let's start up here at 80. So I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to try to line that up, and I'm going to tab over to where it's at the side. So I'm going to start with 80. And I'm going to do every 4 degrees because I don't know how low the temperature got. So I'm going to do 80. Down here 76. So 76 minus 4 is going to be 72. And 72 minus 4 is going to be 68. 68 minus 4 is 64. All right, 64 minus 4 is 60. 60 minus 4 is 56. 56 minus 4 is 52. And 52 minus 4 is 48. Alright, so hopefully it didn't get that cold, but I'm doing that just because I'm not sure what our range was. So for 20, on April 20th, we had a high of 78 degrees. So in order to mark that high, I am going to insert a shape, and the shape I'm going to choose is going to be an oval. And I've got to figure out where 78 will fall. 78 is going to be right between 76 and 80, so it's actually going to be right in the middle here. Alright, so sometimes when you make your dot, it doesn't quite line up. That's okay. If it's highlighted blue, hover over it, and then when you've got your crosshairs, which it's not doing for me there. Alright, so not quite what I want. There we go. So when you have the crosshair, the little T, then you can move it over. Alright, so that's right about where 78 is going to be. Now on April 21st, it was 76 degrees. So I'm going to insert another oval. And I'm going to put that right here on 76. 76 is right on the line. So, ooh, that's a little bit bigger than the other one. Once again, I didn't quite get it on the line. That's okay because I can move it over once I've got the cross. There we go. And put it right on the line. So now that I have my marks made, I need to connect those dots. So to do that, I've got this over here that looks like a line. That's my line tool. I click on the down arrow, I click a line, and I just connect my dots. And we're going to do this for all of your dates that you had. Now the questions you need to ask is you're going to pretend you're a meteorologist and you're going to use the data from your line graph to share weather patterns you noticed. Also, you're going to include what will happen, your predictions for what will happen in the next 3 days. Something to think about, is the temperature going up or down more often? Is it getting hotter or cooler? What's the pattern you notice? Then you have to predict if the pattern will continue and what temperatures you think it will be for the next 3 days. We know that the temperature is going to be a little different and vary slightly, so your temperature shouldn't be the same for all 3 days, but they might be close together. Alright, so let's look at day 4. So for day 4, we have a tricky problem. It's called rainy day. You have to explain your thinking with pictures, numbers, and words. So when we come over to rainy day here, it says it rained 1 2/10 inches on Friday, 3 inches on Saturday, 4 715 thousandths inches on Sunday, and 34 hundredths inches on Monday. We need to place all of our data on a number line first. So that's what we're going to do first. And right away, I see something wrong with this number line, so I have to fix it. The number line starts at 1, but up here, I see this, and that's smaller than 1. So I need to stretch my number line out to include 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that line tool I showed you guys before. I'm going to go to arrow, and I'm just going to add that arrow on the very end here, and I'm just going to stretch it all the way out to the end. Then I'm going to come over here, I'm going to include a line, and I'm going to make a little line at the end of that arrow. And I'm going to hit my T for my text box. I'm going to draw a text box here so that I can, in that box, write 0. This is where my 0 is. Alright, so now that I have that taken care of, I need to figure out how to place the other numbers on the number line. Now, there's only 4 numbers I have to place on the number line, and this shouldn't be too tricky, but before that, we need to figure out our benchmark, and our main benchmark is half. And our half as a decimal is, that's right, it's 5/10. So I'm going to go ahead and make a line here. The halfway line point for this one happens to be kind of right here. It's not quite half. Sorry about that, guys. So right here at the tip of the arrow. So that's where that is. So I'm going to make a new text box, of course. It's really easy. You just hit that circle with a T, and I'm going to put in my 0 and 5/10. Alright, so if it ever does that, guys, you just have to make the text smaller. It's fine. I don't know why it's doing that. Alright. I'm trying to... Sometimes technology can be tricky, so it's okay if you have a little bit of trouble trying to put in your 5/10. I'm going to stretch this out a little bit. This way. Alright. Now that's better. Now we can read 5/10. So now we need to find the rest of our benchmarks. And I'm going to do a few of these, and then I would want you to do the rest. So here, if I put my half here, this is going to be what number? I know it's not exactly perfect. I'll move it over in a minute. This will be 1 and 5/10. And let's move that over just a little bit. There we go. Alright, and then over, when we do this one, when we make this line, come up here, and I've got that, and oh, it did not quite work as I wanted it to, so let's try that again. Line, nope, there we go. Now I got my, if you don't see the plus, you can't make your line, so make sure you see the plus, because sometimes these things move a little bit slow. So I'll draw that down in the half, and then I'll come down here. It looks like I already have a text box. If you don't, go to the box with T for text, and that's going to be 2 and 5/10. Alright, once you have your benchmarks labeled, then you can come and you can place these on the number line a lot easier. But that's not all that we have to do. We have to figure out how many more inches did it rain on Sunday than on Friday and Saturday combined. So I hear that word, Friday and Saturday combined. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do this up here. In order to solve that, I have to do Friday and Saturday combined. That tells me it's addition. Friday and Saturday. So I got to figure out that. How much does that equal? Then I have to take this answer, and I have to figure out how much more it rained on Sunday. So if it rained more on Sunday, then my problem's going to look like Sunday minus my answer. Now, this, of course, is going to be addition and subtraction of decimals. Make sure you line your decimals and your places up. If you have to do it on graph paper, or if you have to make a place value chart to keep your answers, to keep your numbers lined up, please do that. And make sure that you do it in bunches. Find this first, and then make this a separate problem. The next part you need to do is you're going to write questions just like that one using the data from this graph. So you have to write 2 math questions. 2 math questions that you could, say, ask one of your classmates. If the questions are really good, then maybe we can put them up somewhere and see if we can solve them. And when you do that, make sure they're questions you can solve, because that's what your teachers are going to be checking for. We're going to be checking, we're going to look at the questions and be like, is that something I can solve using math and using the information on the slide above? Alright, so it's your turn to put on your teacher cap as you write these questions. Well, thank you for joining me today, 4th grade. I really appreciate it. I hope this helps a little bit if you were struggling any with days 3 and 4. If you have any questions, make sure to get a hold of your teacher. We love you guys, we miss you guys, and we can't wait to see you soon. Have an awesome day, guys.